Question 6. Select the correct statement about the AWS CLI. And the options are: Option A. AWS CLI reduce the egress or ingress charges. B. All application testing can be managed by AWS. C. Customer-owned on-premises infrastructure becomes programmable. D. It allows developers to work with AWS resources programmatically. And the correct answer is option D. It allows developers to work with AWS resources programmatically. Explanation: CLI allows developers to easily work with the various AWS resources programmatically. Option A is incorrect. The AWS CLI doesn't reduce the ingress or egress charges. Option B is incorrect. CLI allows the customer's developers to work with resources, not AWS. Option C is incorrect. The AWS CLI only allows the customer to manage AWS resources, not on-premise. Next question. Select the correct statement about spot price with respect to spot instance. And the options are: Option A. Spot price is static and changes every 6 hours. B. Spot price is static and changes every 24 hours. C. Spot price varies based upon demand. D. Spot price is always less than spot instance request. And the correct answer is option C. Spot price varies based upon demand. Explanation: a spot instance uses the free Amazon EC2 capacity and is available at lesser price than on-demand Amazon EC2 instance. Spot price is an hourly price for a spot instance. Spot price depends upon instance type in each availability zone and varies based upon demand for the spot instance. Option A is incorrect. Hourly price of the spot instance varies based upon the demand for the selected instance and is not static. Option B is incorrect. Hourly price of the spot instance varies based upon the demand for the selected instance. It is not static and does not change every 24 hours. Option D is incorrect. A spot request is the price which customer is willing to pay for a specific instance type in an availability zone. When spot price exceeds the spot request, instance gets terminated. Your company plans to use Amazon S3 to store files uploaded by users. The files are accessed randomly. Popular ones are downloaded frequently while others are downloaded less frequently. Next question. What AWS service automates the provisioning of infrastructure and administrative tasks for an analytical data warehouse? And the options are: Option A. Amazon QuickSight. B. Amazon OpenSearch. C. Amazon SageMaker. D. Amazon Redshift. And the correct answer is option D. Amazon Redshift. Explanation: Amazon Redshift is a fully managed petabyte-scale data warehouse service in the cloud. You can start with just a few hundred gigabytes of data and scale to a petabyte or more. This enables you to use your data to acquire new insights for your business and customers. Option A is incorrect. QuickSight is Amazon's machine learning-powered business intelligence service. Option B is incorrect. Amazon OpenSearch is an Elasticsearch-based open-source distributed search and analytics service. Option C is incorrect. SageMaker is a fully managed service to build, train, and deploy machine learning models with fully managed infrastructure, tools, and workflows. Next question. As an AWS administrator, you are responsible for automating the creation of new AWS accounts for the organization's various departments. New workloads need to be spun up promptly and categorized into groups. How can this be achieved efficiently? And the options are: Option A. Use AWS Cloud Formation. B. Using the AWS API to programmatically create each account via command line interface. C. AWS Identity Access Management. D. Use AWS Organizations. And the correct answer is option D. Use AWS Organizations. Explanation: AWS Organizations allows the user to automate the creation of new AWS accounts when they need to launch new workloads quickly. The administrator can add these new accounts to user-defined groups in an organization for easy categorization. For example, you can create separate groups to categorize development and production accounts. Then you can apply a service control policy to the production group, allowing only access to the AWS services required by production workloads. Option A is incorrect because AWS CloudFormation doesn't aid in automated AWS account creation. AWS CloudFormation provides a common language for the administrator to describe and provision all the infrastructure resources in their cloud environment. CloudFormation allows the administrator to use a simple text file to model and provision all the resources needed for applications across all regions and accounts. This file serves as a single source of truth for your cloud environment. Option B is incorrect. Using AWS API to programmatically create each account via command line interface is feasible but inefficient. Option C is incorrect because using AWS Identity Access Management to fulfill the task is insufficient and tedious. AWS Identity and Access Management enables you to manage access to AWS services and resources securely. Using IAM, you can create and manage AWS users and groups but cannot automate AWS account creation. Next question. When using the AWS CloudFormation template, which of the following features can be used to preview the changes to be made to an AWS resource? And the options are: Option A, AWS CloudFormation drift detection. B, AWS CloudFormation change sets. C, AWS CloudFormation stack sets. D, AWS CloudFormation intrinsic functions. And the correct answer is option B, AWS CloudFormation change sets. Explanation. AWS CloudFormation changes set can be used to preview changes to AWS resources when a stack is executed. Change sets are created by building a new CloudFormation template or modifying the original and creating a change on the original stack. You can then view the changes that will be deployed before you decide to execute the change. Option A is incorrect. AWS CloudFormation drift detection is used to detect any changes made to resource outside of CloudFormation templates. It would not be able to preview changes that will be made by CloudFormation templates. Option C is incorrect as these are groups of stacks that are managed together. Option D is incorrect as these intrinsic functions are used for assigning values to properties in CloudFormation templates. Next question. Which AWS framework pillar is built off protecting data, systems, and assets while increasing business value use established mitigation strategies? And the options are: Option A, operational excellence. B, cost optimization. C, reliability. D, security. And the correct answer is option D, security. Explanation. Security is one of the 5 key pillars of a framework within AWS. The 5 key areas within the security pillar that make up this framework are incident response, data protection, infrastructure or hardware protection, detective controls, and identity and access management. The 5 design principles of operational excellence in the cloud are documentation, frequent and small changes, operations as code, refining procedures quickly, and anticipating system failure. A good example would be anticipating system failure. When you test a failed system, you can validate corrective procedures to make sure that the system is functional and get to a 0% of downtime. However, this pillar doesn't cover all the security aspects within AWS. The reliability pillar is focused on the stability of AWS systems and their ability to support business value with long uptimes and durable systems. This pillar is not focused on protecting data and systems as the security pillar is. The cost optimization pillar is focused more on cost and less on the security aspects of the AWS infrastructure. Next question. In the production environment, you are planning to make some changes to AWS resources. Whenever you make changes to AWS resources, you need to capture and record them automatically. Which of the following AWS services can do this for you? And the options are: Option A, AWS Trusted Advisor. B. AWS CloudWatch. C. AWS Config. D. AWS CloudFormation. And the correct answer is option C. AWS Config. Explanation. AWS Config records and captures all configuration changes done to AWS resources using the configuration recorder. Configuration items created by AWS Config can be sent to S3 to be stored as log files. These log files can be returned depending on the S3 lifecycle policies defined and can be referred to during any audit. Using an automatic configuration management tool helps an organization to track compliance of its resources elegantly. Option A is incorrect because AWS Trusted Advisor cannot record the details of configuration changes in the AWS account. Option B is incorrect because CloudWatch is a monitoring tool that captures different metrics like CPU utilization, memory utilization, etc. Once the data is captured, they can then be used for creating dashboards for displaying usage patterns, creating alarms for automating resource creation, that is creating a new EC2 instance due to average CPU utilization of an auto-scaling group going above 70%. Option D is incorrect because AWS CloudFormation is used for automating the creation of AWS resources in organizations that are huge and use a complex infrastructure that may be difficult to create manually. Next question. Your company would like to use AWS organizations to manage multiple accounts. Which of the following statements about AWS organizations is true? Select two options. Option A. An organizational unit OU can have only one parent. B. An account can be a member of multiple organizational units. C. An SCP policy only impacts a particular AWS account even if it is applied at the root account. D. Organizational level policies are known as service control policies. E. Policies can only allow a allow action and not a deny action. And the correct answer is option A. An organizational unit can have only one parent. And option D. Organizational level policies are known as service control policies. Explanation. Option A is correct. An organizational unit can have a single branch going up, that is, it can either inherit a root or another OU, but not both as shown in the figure below. Option D is correct. AWS organizations automate creation of AWS accounts, OUs and their hierarchy. They use service control policies at OUs. SCPs are different from IAM in the sense that they can be applied to the organizational level. They override any IAM policies that are defined at an account level and may also restrict the IAM policy defined. AWS organizations don't cancel the need for IAM. It complements what IAM can do by consolidating and centrally managing a lot of things that happen. AWS organization is not an authority for granting permissions, but it is an authority to approve or disapprove permissions given by IAM. Option B is incorrect, since an account can belong to only one OU. Option C is incorrect. A policy applied at the root is applied throughout the organization, that is, to all its OUs and its accounts. A policy applied to the OU level applies to all OUs and accounts under those OUs. A policy applied at the account level is applied to only that account, referring to the figure above. When a policy is applied to the OU under the root, it will also be applied to the OU below it and accounts B, C, D. When a policy is applied to account C, it will apply to only that account. Option E is incorrect. SCPs can be configured to allow or deny services and actions. Next question. What are the differences between AWS Global Accelerator and Amazon CloudFront? Select two options. And the options are: Option A. AWS Global Accelerator uses the Anycast techniques to accelerate latency-sensitive applications. Amazon CloudFront uses Unicast. B. Amazon CloudFront makes use of edge locations and edge infrastructure, whilst AWS Global Accelerator does not. C. AWS Global Accelerator does not include the content caching capability that Amazon CloudFront does. D. AWS Global Accelerator is suitable for applications that are non-HTTPS such as VoIP, MTTQ, and gaming, whereas Amazon CloudFront enhances the performance of HTTP-based content such as dynamic web applications, images, and videos. E. For the resource endpoint, Amazon CloudFront offers static public IP addresses, whilst AWS Global Accelerator does not. And the correct answer is option C. AWS Global Accelerator does not include the content caching capability that Amazon CloudFront does. And D. AWS Global Accelerator is suitable for applications that are non-HTTPS such as VoIP, MTTQ, and gaming, whereas Amazon CloudFront enhances the performance of HTTP-based content such as dynamic web applications, images, and videos. Explanation. AWS Global Accelerator uses the high-speed AWS Global Network and anycast routing techniques to greatly improve the availability and network performance of the customer application. By leveraging edge locations and edge infrastructure traffic to and from customer application endpoints, ingresses and egresses, the AWS Global Network at geographically closer locations to clients. Amazon CloudFront is a content delivery network CDN that improves the performance of cacheable web content like videos, images, using content caches at edge locations. Option A is incorrect because Amazon CloudFront does not use unicast techniques. Instead, it uses a content caching mechanism in delivering enhanced web application performance. Option B is incorrect because both AWS Accelerator and Amazon CloudFront service make use of edge locations and edge infrastructure on the AWS Global Network. Option E is incorrect because Global Accelerator provides static public IP addresses for the customer resource endpoints, whilst the fully qualified domain name of the Amazon CloudFront distribution can resolve to dynamic public IP addresses. Next question. To ensure the availability and backup of EBS volumes, which of the following is the customer's responsibility? And the options are: Option A. Delete the data and create a new EBS volume. B. Create EBS snapshots. C. Attach new volumes to EC2 instances. D. Create copies of EBS volumes. And the correct answer is option B. Create EBS snapshots. Explanation. Snapshots are incremental backups, which means that only the blocks on the device that have changed after your most recent snapshot are saved. When you create an EBS volume based on a snapshot, the new volume begins as an exact replica of the original volume that was used to create the snapshot. The replicated volume loads data in the background so that you can begin using it immediately. Option A is incorrect because there is no need for backup of the volumes if data is already deleted. Option C is incorrect because attaching more EBS volumes does not ensure availability. If there is no snapshot, then the volume cannot be available to a different availability zone. Option D is incorrect. EBS volumes cannot be copied, they can only be replicated using snapshots. For more information on EBS snapshots, please refer to the below URL. Next question. Which AWS service helps you to view operational data from multiple AWS services and automate operational tasks across your AWS resources? And the options are: Option A. AWS Systems Manager. B. AWS Management Console. C. AWS Resource Groups. D. AWS Resource Access Manager. And the correct answer is option A. AWS Systems Manager. Explanation. AWS Systems Manager is a collection of capabilities to help you manage your applications and infrastructure running in the AWS cloud. Systems Manager simplifies application and resource management, shortens the time to detect, and resolve operational problems, and helps you manage your AWS resources securely at scale. Option B is incorrect because the Managed Console is a web-based graphical user interface that users interact with when administering AWS services and resources. Option C is incorrect because resource groups are a collection of AWS resources within a single AWS region. In this scenario, the AWS resources are in different AWS regions. Option D is incorrect because Resource Access Manager allows users to share resources with other AWS accounts or via AWS organizations. Next question. Which of the following scenarios would require using both spot and reserved EC2 instances? And the options are: Option A. Applications that experience sudden spikes in workload, but only for a short period of time. B. In which there is a predictable resource demand over a long duration. C. Having unpredictable spikes for a long period of time. D. One that has a constantly predictable workload with brief unpredictable spikes. And the correct answer is option D. One that has a constantly predictable workload with brief unpredictable spikes. Explanation. In order to meet the constantly predictable workload, Amazon EC2 reserved instances would be the most cost-effective solution. Spot instances is an auto-scaling group would suffice to meet the unpredictable spikes. Hence, a combination of reserved and spot instances appropriate in this scenario. Option A is incorrect because this use case would be cost-effectively serviced by Amazon EC2 reserved instances with on-demand instances in an auto-scaling group to meet the resource demands of the spike. Option B is incorrect because this use case would be cost-effectively serviced by Amazon EC2 reserved instances alone. Option C is incorrect. For this use case, Amazon EC2 on-demand instances within an auto-scaling group would be a cost-effective way to meet the resource requirements. Next question. When designing a highly available architecture, what is the difference between vertical scaling, scaling up, and horizontal scaling, scaling out? And the options are: Option A. Scaling up provides high availability while scaling out brings fault tolerance. B. Scaling out is not cost-effective compared to scaling up. C. Scaling up adds more resources to an instance, scaling out adds more instances. D. Auto-scaling groups require scaling up whilst launch configurations use scaling out. And the correct answer is option C. Scaling up adds more resources to an instance, scaling out adds more instances. Explanation. Vertical scaling, scale up, is done by adding more resources to an existing system to reach a desired state of performance. For example, a database or web server needs additional resource to continue performance at a certain level to meet SLAs. More compute, memory, storage, or network can be added to that system to keep the performance at desired levels. Horizontal scaling, scaling out, is basically adding more instances. In high availability architectures, auto-scaling is used to give elasticity to the design. Horizontal scaling uses auto-scaling groups to increase processing capacity in response to changes in preset threshold parameters. It could involve adding more EC2 instances of a web server. Option A is incorrect. Scaling up does not provide high availability. Adding more resources to one instance is often not a best practice in architecture design. Option B is incorrect. Scaling out is cost-effective since it involves adding more resources in response to demand and reducing resources when demand is low. Option D is incorrect. All auto-scaling groups require a launch configuration based on what resources would be provisioned or deprovisioned to meet predefined parameters. Next question. A weather tracking website monitors the weather along the flight route. This information is used by travelers around the world to plan their trip. Travelers are expecting quick turnaround time when booking flights and viewing the weather. This website is using AWS Route 53 DNS. Please suggest the best routing policy for the website. And the options are: Option A. Geolocation routing policy. B. Failover routing policy. C. Multi-value answer routing policy. D. Latency-based routing policy. And the correct answer is option D. Latency-based routing policy. Explanation. According to the scenario described in the question, the performance of the website is of prime importance to its users. These users travel frequently and cross regional boundaries. Latency-based routing always routes DNS queries to the best performing region, regardless of what happens to Amazon's infrastructure. If the question asks for the best latency performance, latency-based routing would most likely be the answer. Please refer to AWS documentation for more details. Option A is incorrect because geolocation routing is often used to localize content and present the website in the language of its users. Geolocation routing lets you choose the resources that serve your traffic based on your user's geographic location, meaning the location that DNS queries originate from. For example, you might want all queries from Europe to be routed to an ELB load balancer in the Frankfurt region, irrespective of latency in that region. Option B is incorrect because failover routing is usually used in disaster recovery scenarios, where an active-passive disaster recovery configuration is present, and the passive resource that was originally the backup resource has now become the active resource due to the original active resource being unhealthy. Option C is incorrect, since multi-value answer routing provides the ability to return multiple health-checkable IP addresses, which is a way to use DNS to improve availability and load balancing. Thank you for watching this video. Buy our AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner CLF-C01 premium questions with 50% off. Check link in the description.